You're in a parking garage in El Paso, third level. No cameras on this floor. You checked. The man who walks toward you is in military. No uniform, no rank. He's wearing a golf shirt and khakis, and he looks like he sells software. He stops 3 feet away. He says, "We've been watching you for 14 months. You say, "I know." He doesn't smile. He just nods. He says, "That's why you're here." Level 1, the selection. You don't apply. You're already DEA Special Operations, or Border Patrol BORTAC, or Army Special Forces running counter-narcotics in Colombia. You've already been places that don't appear in your service record, done things that required 3 sets of paperwork and 1 verbal order that was never written down. Someone noticed something specific, not your arrest numbers, not your shooting scores, not your commendations. The way you walked through a Sinaloa plaza for 6 hours and nobody made you. The way you switched through Sonoran slang mid-conversation without thinking. The way you sat across from a cartel lieutenant for 2 hours pretending to be a corrupt federal and never blinked once. The way you disappeared inside a situation that should have gotten you killed. The man in the golf shirt slides a single page across the hood of a car. No letterhead, no agency seal, just text. The pitch is simple. There is a unit. It has no name in any budget, no office, no chain of command that anyone in Washington will acknowledge. The DEA thinks it's a DOD program. DOD thinks it's CIA. CIA has plausible deniability. If you join, your records show a transfer to a training facility in Arizona. Desk assignment. Boring. If you die across the border, there is no body recovery, no flag, no funeral with honors. Your family gets a phone call and a cover story. The man asks, "Are you in?" You've been watching the same cartel move the same product through the same corridors for 6 years while lawyers argued about jurisdiction. You say yes before he finishes the sentence. He nods. He picks up the page. He walks away. You never see him again. 3 days later, your phone gets a text. Coordinates, a time, nothing else. Level 2, the training. 6 weeks, a facility that doesn't appear on any map. Somewhere in the desert. You're not sure which state. That's intentional. They don't care that you can shoot. You already proved that. They don't care that you can fight. Already proved that too. They want to know one thing. Can you become someone else completely? Day 1, surveillance detection. You're given a photo of a man. Follow him through Tucson for 8 hours. Don't be made. You fail in 4 hours. You walk like a cop. Cops have a walk. Weight forward, scanning constantly. It's trained into you. It also gets you killed south of the border, where everyone is looking for exactly that walk. Start over. Week 2. You fail because you ordered food the wrong way. Week 3. You fail because you sat with your back to the wall in a restaurant and the woman at the next table noticed. Week 4. You finally complete the exercise. The instructor hands you a harder target. Someone who's been surveilled before. Someone paranoid. Someone who will burn you if you give them half a reason. This goes on until your instincts are gone, replaced by something quieter, something that doesn't announce itself. The language work is different from what you've done before. You already speak Spanish. Now you learn Sinaloa cartel slang. The specific words that mark you as plaza. The phrases that mark you as military. The ones that mark you as federal. The ones that will get you shot if you use them in the wrong colonia. They make you watch narco corridors for a week straight. Not for entertainment. So you know the references, the names, the stories that every plaza soldier knows. Then They put you in a border city with no mercy, no weapon, no backup. Survive 4 days. Complete 2 objectives. Don't be noticed. You sleep in a flop house your first night. You eat street food on 40 pesos. You beg outside a bus station. You complete both objectives on day 3. You're extracted. The instructor says you hesitated twice. Hesitation gets you in a barrel. You don't hesitate. Level 3. The first operation. Culiacan, Sinaloa State. You won't say which neighborhood. You arrive as Daniel Reyes, Mexican American. Small import business, auto parts. Boring. You have a warehouse lease, a registered company, a phone number that routes through a call center in Monterrey, a reputation in the import community that took 8 months to build before you ever set foot in the city. For 5 weeks, you do nothing interesting. You go to the same tianguis on Tuesdays, the same taqueria for lunch, the same gym 3 mornings a week. You establish a routine so unremarkable you become invisible. The target is a plaza coordinator, mid-level. He doesn't move product, he moves money and people. He coordinates which routes are open, which federals are paid, which competitors need to be dealt with. He's not famous. His name doesn't appear in any US indictment. He has a wife and 2 daughters and coaches his daughter's football team on Saturday mornings. He's also responsible for 14 deaths in the last 8 months. Journalists, municipal cops who wouldn't take the money, a family in the wrong house. You map his world, his schedule down to the minute, his contacts, his security, which of his bodyguards are serious and which are decoration, where he keeps the phones, which phone he uses for which conversations. Everything goes out encrypted through a relay that bounces through 4 countries. Week 6. You notice a car that passes your street twice a day at irregular times. Not police, not military, cartel counter surveillance. Someone is watching the neighborhood for people like you. You adjust. You don't go to the gym for a week. You change your lunch spot. You become even more invisible inside a city where invisible is the most dangerous thing you can be. The intelligence you gather rolls up his entire financial network. 43 wire transfers frozen. 24 safe houses identified. A corruption map of every paid official in 3 municipalities. Daniel Reyes closes his warehouse. Business didn't work out. He leaves the city on a bus. New documents, new city, new name. Level 4. The Hunt. This one is different. Not a coordinator, not a money man, a Sicario commander, El Arquitecto, responsible for designing the operations that killed a DEA informant, 2 US citizens, and a Mexican federal judge who was about to sign extradition papers. No current photo. He's changed his face. Surgical, basic, but effective. He moves between 3 states. Never stays anywhere more than 5 days, never uses the same vehicle twice, never meets anyone the same way twice. He's been a priority target for 4 years. The DEA has a task force. The Mexican military has a unit. Billions of pesos in operations. Nothing. So they send you. You can't find him directly. He's designed himself to be unfindable. So you find the architecture he leaves behind. His doctor, a plastic surgeon in Guadalajara who asks no questions. His sister, who hasn't seen him in 2 years but still receives money every month through a specific remittance pattern. His former driver, now working for a different plaza, nervous, drinking too much. His weapons supplier, a man in Hermosillo who sells to whoever pays and keeps no records, but has a very specific memory for faces. 11 months, 4 identities, 6 cities. In Guadalajara, you're a pharmaceutical rep. In Hermosillo, you're a construction materials buyer. In Tijuana, you're a logistics consultant. Everywhere you listen. You build relationships carefully. You let people talk. You remember everything and write down nothing. The break comes from the driver. 3 beers in a bar in Mazatlan, he mentions a cousin who runs a ranch outside a town you've never heard of. He mentions the cousin has had unusual visitors lately. He mentions this the way men mention things they want someone to notice but can't say directly. You don't react. You order another beer. You talk about football for 20 minutes. You leave. You relay the location. You're sent in as a tourist. Wrong season for tourists. But a man with a camera and bad Spanish and money to spend is forgettable anywhere. You spend 9 days in that town. You hike. You eat at the same 2 restaurants. You photograph landscapes. And from a ridge above the valley, you document everything. Vehicles, patterns, faces, guard positions, entry points, the water tank on the roof that would make a useful reference point for something you won't be present for. You relay everything. You're told to leave. You check out of your hotel. You tip the woman at the front desk. You compliment her on the town. You're 3 states away when the operation happens. You never see the news coverage. You don't look for it. Level 5, the witness. This is the one that costs you sleep. A former cartel accountant. He kept the books for 8 years. He knows everything. Names, accounts, the politicians on the payroll, the generals, the American officials. He wants out. His family is already threatened. His youngest son was followed home from school. The message was clear. Stay quiet, or the next message goes to the boy. He reaches out through 3 cutouts. He'll testify. He'll give everything. But he needs to be gone before he talks. Gone in a way the cartel can't track. Gone in a way that looks like he just disappeared. Standard witness protection can't do this. Too many people know. Too many leaks. 2 previous witnesses in this case are already dead. So they send your unit. Team of 3. All ghosts. The extraction plant takes 6 weeks to build. A power outage on a specific street on a specific night. A vehicle that can't be traced to anyone. A route through 4 checkpoints where specific people have been paid to look the other way. A plane from a private airstrip with no tower. The accountant has a wife, a teenage daughter, a son who is 11. The son doesn't understand what's happening. He thinks it's a vacation. You let him believe that. The daughter is 17. She understands exactly what's happening. She doesn't cry. She asks you one question in the back of the vehicle in the dark. She asks, "Are we going to be okay?" You've been lied to and lied for your entire career. You tell her, yes. You mean it. They make it out. The accountant's testimony takes 4 months to record. What he gives them reshapes 3 ongoing investigations, 41 indictments, 2 sitting officials, 1 name that goes all the way to a floor of government that nobody thought was reachable. The family gets new names. A house in a state that doesn't border Mexico. A life that nobody will connect to what they left behind. The daughter will go to college. She'll study something practical. She'll never know your name. That's the only part of this job that still feels clean. Level 6. The cost. 9 years in. You stop counting identities. Stop counting cities. You know which way to sit in every class of vehicle to survive a specific type of ambush. You know how to talk your way through a cartel checkpoint at 2 a.m. with nothing but a cover story and a face that doesn't flinch. You know how to look at a room full of armed men and calculate in 3 seconds who moves first and where the exit is. These are not skills that make you easy to live with. Your father died during an operation you couldn't leave. You found out 4 days later. You were in a flop house in Juarez, pretending to be someone else. You sat on the edge of a mattress for 20 minutes. Then you went back to work. There is no one to call when something like that happens. Your unit doesn't have a counselor. Your cover doesn't have a family. The person your father knew doesn't officially exist anymore. The relationship ended 3 years ago. She didn't know the details. She just knew the man who came back from trips wasn't quite the same man as the man who left. That he checked locks twice. That he sat facing the door. That he woke up at sounds he couldn't hear. She said, "I feel like I'm living with a stranger." She was right. The stranger's what the job made. The man she fell for is somewhere inside that stranger, getting harder to find. Level 7, the burn. It starts with a missed check-in. Your handler doesn't respond at the scheduled time. You wait. You use the backup protocol. Nothing. A week later, a face you recognize from a joint operation 2 years ago appears outside your safe house in Phoenix. Not a coincidence. You don't believe in coincidences. You pull every thread you have. Someone burned you, not the cartel, your own side. You piece it together slowly. An operation you ran 18 months ago identified a financial network that led somewhere it wasn't supposed to lead. Accounts connected to people above the cartel, above the plaza, above the country. People with American addresses, American names, American interests in keeping certain corridors open. You filed the report. You followed protocol. You sent it up the chain. And then nothing happened. Not slow walked. Not deprioritized. Nothing. The reports doesn't exist in any system you can access. The operation it came from has been reclassified beyond your clearance. The 2 other unit members who were on that operation with you have been reassigned to places you can't verify. You spent 9 years operating in the space between what governments say and what they do. You never thought you'd find yourself on the wrong side of that space. Level 8, the decision. Hotel room, Phoenix, curtains closed, chair against the door. You have 48 hours before whoever burned you decides you're not just a loose end, but an active problem. Option 1, disappear. You know how, better than anyone alive. New name, new country, built from scratch with no unit support and no infrastructure. Just the skills, just the cash you've kept liquid for exactly this moment. Option 2, go loud. Take what you have, the report, the accounts, the names, and find someone outside the machine. A journalist, a senator who isn't on the right list. Someone who can make noise fast enough that making you disappear becomes more expensive than letting you talk. Option 3, go back in. Find out how deep this goes. Find the people above the people who burned you. Use every skill 9 years of this work gave you. Not for the unit, not for the government, for the accountant's daughter who asked you if she was going to be okay. For the 14 people killed by the coordinator you mapped in Culiacan. For whatever it was you thought you were doing when you said yes in the parking garage. You make a choice. You don't write it down. Level 9, the ghost. Whatever you chose, you are now the thing the unit was designed to produce. A person who doesn't exist. With skills that can't be explained, and knowledge that certain people would pay any price to keep contained. You know the routes, the networks, the names above the names, the accounts above the accounts. You know which corridors are managed and which are genuinely interdicted. You know which operations were real and which were theater. You know the difference between the war on drugs and the business of drugs. And you know they are not always the same thing. You can't tell anyone. Not safely. Not yet. You go somewhere quiet. You wait. You watch. You sit with your back to the wall. You count exits. You notice the car that passes twice. The training doesn't stop. It never stops. Level 10. The Invisible War. There's a young agent somewhere right now, watching the plaza coordinator's morning routine, logging vehicle plates, timing guard rotations, thinking he's doing the most important work anyone can do. He probably is. He also doesn't know what you know. What's above the coordinator? What's above the plaza? What's above the cartel? He'll find out eventually, or he'll be burned before he does. Or he'll make the same choice you made in a hotel room with the curtains closed and a chair against the door. The war he thinks he's fighting is real. The people dying in it are real. The question of who it actually serves, that's the thing nobody puts in the briefing. That's the thing you carry alone. You finish your coffee, you fold the newspaper, leave exact change. You walk out into the street. Just another face, the most dangerous kind.